Hello, 12 Bridges, and welcome back to our 5th edition of Crash Talk Sports. I am Matt Bunton, and I am here with
Jayden Foster,
Steven Pagano,
and Thomas Larson.
And today we're gonna jump in on, honestly, we don't have a lot of local sports this week because we had a bye week last week in football, and girls volleyball lost. We don't really like to talk about losses very often unless it's like really big loss. It really wasn't a big loss, so I don't think that there's much point in talking about that one. Honestly, I feel like the more time we have to talk about NFL right now, the more worthwhile it really is because there's so much to unpack this week.
Thursday night,
like we always do. What was our Thursday night game again this week?
Jets and the Patriots.
Oh yeah, the one where
Aaron Rodgers is back.
And Ramondre Stevenson lost me my fantasy game.
What happened?
-5 points.
Season, man?
Oh, shut up.
He was so keen on that. He was like, "Yeah, bro, I'm going all the way, dude."
What was I supposed to do? Ramondre Stevenson with my boosted points got -5 points. Nonetheless, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to start with that Thursday night game. New England, Drake May had a pretty decent debut. I wouldn't call it anything super special, but, I think he had a total of, nearly 50 yards in that last few. Was it one drive or two drives? I don't remember. Because Jacoby Brissett is so dog water. And you know what? Like Rappa said last week, as much as I hate to agree with him sometimes, nobody really turned on their TV for that game, did they?
No.
Nobody spent their
Thursday night. Only thing I paid attention was my fantasy app because I have Garrett Wilson.
I mean, he did decent. He didn't do anything special, but he did all right.
He got Aaron Rodgers as quarterback. He'll be putting up 20 points per pretty soon here. I can guarantee it.
Yeah, and that is hot takes with Jayden right there.
Yes.
Honestly, there's not much to unpack from that game, so I think that we should just move on. Honestly, Aaron Rodgers is back. That's the headline. That's it. Let's move on to those Sunday games because there is so much to unpack with that one. Bears suck.
Oh, God. Caleb Williams, dude. Well, how many touchdowns? He had 2 touchdowns.
He had 2 touchdowns, but he had 2 interceptions too.
So. He had 363 passing yards. I mean, offense showed it can be special. I just think it needs to be. They need to score points early in the game, then wait until last 8 minutes of the game, because you're not always gonna have a close game, especially if you go against tougher opponents. You're gonna be down 27-3 or something, and then you're trying to turn it up 8 minutes until the end of the game. So I think if they can get the offense rolling in the first quarter, get some points evenly in each quarter, I think the Bears can turn it around.
I think the Bears, their run game is non-existent. Their play calling is awful. If this Caleb Williams experiment doesn't work out in the long run, this is going to be looked back upon as one of the worst decisions ever made by any coaching staff. Because if you really think about it, they could have kept Justin Fields because he's doing decent with the Steelers right now. He's 3-0. He has 3 touchdowns. Caleb Williams only has 2, and he has a lot more turnovers. I think that the Bears were so focused on trying to get Saquon that they forgot that there was other people available, and they just went with Swift, which is not. I don't think it's a good fit. I think they should have gone for somebody more of a power running back, and they went with a guy that you need to bounce him outside because he's not strong.
More of an elusive quick back.
Yeah.
Not very physical.
I want Caleb Williams to succeed. I have nothing against the Bears.
I do.
Oh yeah, you're an Eagles fan.
Of course you say that.
Bears suck.
But if the Bears want to have success, they need to get a better running game, and they have to take the ball out of Caleb Williams' hands, because throwing it 50 times a game with a rookie quarterback with no offensive line is not good, and it will not win you football games.
I think you gotta get the running game a lot better. 20 yards for 13 rush attempts. No, okay, that's not what we're expecting out of Swift. So I think O-line definitely needs to know who they're blocking and to make bigger gaps for Swift to try to get more yards, because you can't really rely on just passing, because if you're going against a good passing defense, you're going to have to depend on the run. But if you don't have a good run game, then you're screwed.
And that's something that's like really consistent with championship teams. They have a consistent run game. That's just kind of how it has been. I mean, look at Mahomes. He's had Pacheco this year. Before that, he had some some not necessarily exceptional running backs, but consistent running backs, and that's all you need, someone who's consistent.
Yeah. And Chicago's always been like known as a rushing team more than a passing team, because they never had over 4,000 yards passing and over 25 touchdowns thrown for a QB ever in their franchise. They've always been known for Walter Payton, Devin Hester. I don't know if he was a running back. Maybe he was. I can't remember. Or
I think he played receiver.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, receiver. But
He's
they always
mostly
been known as a rushing team. Justin Fields rushed over 1,000 yards. So they just need to get the running game there. I think offensive coordinator Shane Waldron, I think that's his name is, but he's been atrocious for the previous games. First, he was not letting really Caleb throw. If it was everyone's covered, and then the O-line collapsed. And it was better, but he decided to actually start making scoring plays until the fourth quarter. So I think he's got to make better calls through the whole game instead of just the fourth quarter, and start developing the running game.
And that's kind of something about almost like the Eagles last year. We ended up coming up from behind in like a bunch of our games last year, and we won games in the fourth quarter, but a lot of people started getting on edge because they're like, well, what happens if it's unwinnable by the second half? Like, what are we supposed to do by then? Because we get it. The coaching style is adjust at the half, figure things out, understand what the other team is going to do that game, and then push forward. But what happens if it's already 35-0 at the end of the first? Like, what are you going to do? And that's something that seems to really suck about a lot of offensive coordinators right now. I think that, yeah, let's just say this right now. Bears are 1-2, starting to look better, but also questioning, like, if you can play that good and yet still lose a game, is it going to be panic time soon if you can't keep winning?
I say the start panic time. We play the Rams, which their whole entire team's hurt. I think Tre'Davious White's the only player, him and Stafford, and then maybe Kyron, are really the only people we need to worry about. Otherwise, Fuka, Cooper Kupp, all those people out.
Tutu Atwell.
Tutu. But main people, those three, we really need to worry about. But others, it's just a bunch of no-namers. So I think that's a game we should win. And the Panthers, we all know we should win against Panthers, not lose to Andy Dalton.
If you don't end up 3-2 by the end of the next 2 weeks, then it might be panic time.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're gonna move on to another game, which, I mean, I like covering all of our teams. So let's go on to that Niners game.
Bang bang Niner gang. Bang bang Niner gang. Bang bang Niner gang.
Honestly, you guys looked so good even without Deebo Samuel. It's just that second half, like at the end of that second half, that was bad. That was a breakdown. It was kind of the opposite of what I was just talking about with offensive coordinators, where the defensive coordinators just decide, you know what, we're just going to blanket the field, and it causes kind of, poor play by the defense. They're just like, oh, I'll just sit here. And it causes holes to open up, and, the game just goes poorly.
Clearly, this defense's issue is not the players, as we have a lot of stars. Fred Warner, Greenlaw hasn't played. I don't think he played against the Rams because of his Achilles. I don't know when he comes back. He'll probably come back after a bye week. We got Bosa, Hargrave. You know something about Hargrave. He played for the Eagles for a large portion of his career. Yeah. It's a coaching issue, and it's been a coaching issue even last year with our defensive coordinator, Steve Wilkes, who I think he's awful. He was awful.
Terrible.
And this new guy is pretty bad too. But, when you have back-to-back good defensive coordinators with Robert Saleh and D'Amico Ryans, who are now both head coaches for their respective teams, I guess it only makes sense that we have back-to-back thumbs, I'd like to say. Purdy proved that he is not a system quarterback. The system is not made. He's not made by the system. And I guess, that's really the only positive other than Jawan Jennings, who, had a monster game. Thank goodness I picked him off the waiver wire.
Something like 11 and 13 on receptions. I think 2 touchdowns.
173 yards.
173 yards. That's a crazy game, especially for someone that's coming up from the third string position. And there was even questions if he would drop to fourth, depending on how your new
Ricky Pearsall.
Yeah, Ricky Pearsall was going to play, but obviously he ended up, unfortunately, with his robbery gone right, and sounds like he's actually going to be back pretty soon, though.
And if I'm the Niners, I know we lost, but if I'm the Niners, I would sit some of our stars another maybe 1 or 2 weeks, because with the way we played against the Rams, if we can just lock in on our defense and we can just hammer down on some of our coaching decisions, I think that resting our stars like Debo, Kittle, who else is out? Because I know
You got Debo,
McCaffrey. Yeah, McCaffrey's not coming back till
Bosa was questionable.
He's not expected to even have a chance of coming back until 7th week.
Yeah, that's what I was, because he has Achilles tendonitis, which is extremely.
He said he was going to Germany to see a specialist.
Yeah, rest him up. You got Jordan Mason. He's a dog, and the Rams. I will say, the Rams did an impressive job of keeping Jordan Mason in check and shutting down some of the holes. I know Jordan Mason, he was able to make and create plays, which is what you want in a running back. It's very special watching this guy play, but they did a really good job containing him and holding him to a not so crazy game.
So who would you say from that game, who was the main player that made you guys lose? Who would you say?
Tutu Atwell.
Ronnie Bell.
Ronnie Bell.
You need to catch footballs. You get paid to catch footballs. Why are you dropping 4 catches and a potential game winner? He dropped a potential. Well, it wouldn't be a game winner. We'd have to still get some yards, but if we caught that, momentum would have been on our side, and I'm very, very confident we would have won that game with a field goal.
Mm-hmm.
Some of it can also be pinned on that D-line, specifically the interior.
Also, Charvarius Ward. Not going to say. He had a terrible game. Burnt on multiple big plays. Didn't look like his 2023 self.
So I think we ran a lot of zone, and I think he's more of a man-to-man. Not exactly, he's a weaker zone coverage cornerback. That was one of the things when he came out of Kansas City, and it was one of the main downsides from him, as he's not really a zone guy.
Touching on that as well, it just seems like it makes sense. Like, why would you run zone? That just doesn't make sense, because most of your corners are man-to-man for the most part. And on top of that, you're facing a team where both of the wide receiver ones are out, which means you have better athletes on your side. When you see that you have an apparent better athlete on your side, you run man-to-man. That's how it is. It just makes sense. Why would you run zone and just blanket the field when you can have someone who's just better manned up on somebody?
And I think it comes back down to the coaching. This defensive coordinator, I don't know his name. I probably should learn his name. However, he is not a good fit for this team, as he seems to love running zone. But when your team, like you just said, Matt, when your team is very athletic and these cornerbacks are not, they're not slow. They can keep up with these guys like Diamador Lenore, who he sucked for the beginning of his career. He was awful. I hated seeing him on the field. I would have rather seen Ambry Thomas on the field other than him, but he's really started to really come up as a potential, as a strong number 2 guy next to Ward. You need to make better decisions when you are leading a potential number 1 defense. You can't mess up like this bad. It's inexcusable.
One more thing on the Niners before we move on to my game, the Eagles, which was quite the game, honestly. But you guys, I know you said you should probably sit down some of your players for a couple weeks. Although next week you're playing this week you're playing New England, which is fine. That's an all right game. Who cares, really? It's just throw it out the window. Then the following 2 weeks are back-to-back division rivals. You're playing the Arizona Cardinals and then followed up by the Seattle Seahawks. Do you really want to have your players sit down when those 2 games? I feel like you want them prepared, because if you fail to win those games, and after you've already failed to win your last 2 games, you could be at risk losing your playoff spot.
I say we at least sit them for this New England game, because New England is trash. But definitely some things to think about in the coaching stuff.
I think I'm very confident that the Eagles, or not Eagles, the Cardinals, their defense isn't that great. I think you can sit Kittle again and Debo again and let Juwan eat. Unless he gets doubled, then you have Ayuk, who we wasted $120 million on. Granted, I'm pretty confident in that. Our defense, we can't afford to sit guys on defense. We need to make better play. We need to call better plays on defense. We need to just be better overall. It's very disappointing. I think we can afford to sit our guys for 2 more weeks, but with the Seahawks after the Cardinals, you can't. They're an up and coming team. A lot of people thought they were going to suck for a while. Nope. They have stayed playoff ready. Geno Smith is looking really good, like he has since he's been in Seattle. I think you rest these guys 2 more weeks, have them fresh and ready to go against Seattle, and that's where I'm at with that.
All right. Yep. That's absolutely valid. Arizona, I feel like you are underselling their defense a little bit. They are in the bottom scene, most difficult defensive against the pass right now. So their defense is decent. It's not terrible. It's honestly actually good, I would say, but it's not great. It's not exceptional. And knowing Brock Purdy's talent, knowing Ayuk's talent, knowing Juwan Jennings' talent, you'll probably do fine against them. And they're the 9th worst against the run, so you're fine.
That's something I want to touch on is Brandon Ayuk.
Absolutely. Like,
Brandon Ayuk over the last 3 weeks has not been playing like a $30 million receiver.
He doesn't exist on that field.
No. I think he had a little over 50 yards and 4 catches against the Rams, and just completely dead. Like, if you're going to hold out for $30 million a year, you have to play up to that.
I want to touch up on the Chiefs. Who'd they play again? Falcons. That no call in the end zone.
It was PI. It should have been PI.
That is the most ridiculous no call I've ever seen in my life. Oh, well, not most ridiculous if you want to talk about the Saints-Rams game, but that was a game decider, I think. And they should have. That's just inexcusable. Mahomes just keeps getting away with it, and it's a disgrace. It just makes the league look so fake, and it really hurts because I love football, and watching it just fall apart like this is so sad.
At this point, it's not even football. It's literally the Chiefs game. I cannot bear to watch Chief games anymore. Like, I will only turn on a Chiefs game if it is my team playing, or if it's, one of my friends' teams playing. But if it's not, then there's no point in watching the game because the officiating is going to suck. I'm just going to get angry. I don't like it. Like, it's typically valid for basically any other team besides the Chiefs, for the most part. There are definitely some mistakes that happen in officiating, but let's be real, that's always happened.
Week 2 against the Bengals, and they got that flag call, but for the Falcons, they didn't get that flag.
Yeah,
so it's
the Chiefs-Bengals game. They got. I mean, that was also blatant PI. There's nothing you can say against that. But they called that, and they didn't call the one against the Falcons. However, they did give the Falcons other penalties, and the Chiefs did get called on a lot of other penalties. So if you really want to think about it like that, I guess you could weigh it off. But still, you have to call that. That is so
absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, we got to move on. I know we like talking about this, but I need less to edit. So So yeah, we're gonna talk about the Eagles game. It was a win, but it was a dirty win. It was not. It looked bad. It did not make us look good.
Win is a win.
A win is absolutely a win. We take it, but is morale really gonna be that high after we beat the Saints by what was it, 3 points?
Yeah.
Well,
Like,
Hey, but the Saints' offense been rolling.
the
Oh, it
Eagles'
absolutely
defense
has.
played very impressive. Looking at it, Matt, I think you should be very excited that the defense did not get torched by the Saints.
Oh, absolutely. I'm happy about that. But we still should have put up way more points on offense.
Mm-hmm. Jalen Hurts didn't have a single throwing touchdown, right? Did he get rushing or no?
Jalen Hurts had a passing touchdown, and Saquon had a rushing touchdown.
Jalen Hurts turnover machine.
Yeah.
Jalen Hurts
Jalen
needs to
Hurts.
clean up his game. He needs to. If they want a chance to even sniff a Lombardi trophy, he needs to stop throwing stupid passes. It is so... I don't hate the Eagles. I really don't. I like Jalen Hurts. I liked him when he was in Alabama. This turnover thing has been haunting him ever since college. And it's just been it's going to be his downfall. It has been his downfall. And if he can clean that up, Eagles are a top 5 team, hands down. But right now, with how Jalen Hurts is playing, they're still a top 10 team.
Quick correction. So you say in college, he did really, really good that one year where we made it to Super Bowl. He only had, I think, 8 interceptions, and like 2 fumbles that year. It was actually pretty tame for him. He did really well on that turnover thing. He did terribly last year. He's been doing terribly this year. I think he needs to secure the ball better when receiving the snap is a big part. He's already had, I think, 1 or 2 fumbles just from receiving the snap. He needs to make sure that he gets that ball in his hands and he doesn't drop it. I get that it's also difficulty with Cam Jurgens getting the ball to him, but I mean, every piece of our offense is a important part of our offense. It's made the way it is for that specific reason. I think bringing in Saquon was one of Howie Roseman's best decisions he's ever made, but clearly in the passing game, we could definitely use some help when our wide receiver one's gone.
And Devonta Smith.
Also, quick prayers up to Devontae Smith really quick.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I only saw the aftermath. I wasn't really looking. Is it a concussion?
It's a concussion. He was actually knocked straight out on the head.
Out?
He passed out on the head. I think that's what we got time for today. Honestly, we started a little late, so we're running low on time. Nonetheless, yep, time to wrap it up.
Sounds good.
Alrighty, this has been Matt Bunton
Jayden Foster.
Steve Pagano.
And Thomas Larson.
signing off.
Bye.